Hello everybody and welcome to part 4 of my Git tutorial series. In the previous video we have seen how to create commits, and in this video we're going to see how to work with branches in Git. So let's say in our next coding session we decide to create the code for the actual game, and since we don't want to mess with our main line of development with our stable code, we want to do that on a branch. So let's first create a branch for that. So the command is simply git branch, and after that we can specify the name of the branch. So let's choose dev for our development branch, and then we obviously then need to check the branch out. So we're going to say git checkout dev, and now you can see here in the parentheses it says dev and not master anymore. And let's also have a look at the log. So one line, and here now head is pointing at master. So now we can work on the code without messing with the code on our master branch. So for creating the code for the actual game, let's create a new file. And this we simply call game.py. And here in the code we first obviously import all of our helper functions, and then here's the actual code for the game. So let's copy that. So let's see. So that's code. So let's see if that is working. So let's run the file, and here let's just pick 2 rows and columns, and now player 1 plays position 0, 0, player 2 plays position 1, 1, and now let's just play position 0, 0, 1. So now the game is finished. Player 1 has achieved a horizontal win, and then we are asked if we want to play again, and we're gonna say no. So that's the game, and the code is working. So now we want to save that into a commit. So let's run git status again, and here as expected we have game.py listed in the working directory, but also now here a folder called py cache. And if we look at our folder, that's what it is, and this automatically got created when we ran the game.py file. And this machine generated folder is not really necessary for our project. So for that reason we would like Git to simply ignore that folder. So and therefore we are using the git ignore file. So we are creating another file, and this we simply call git ignore. And in that file we can then list that folder. So py cache. Let's save that. And now if we run git status again, you can see it's not listing the py cache folder anymore, but obviously they are therefore then the git ignore file. So let's add those two to the staging area. And here I'm going to use a shortcut. Namely, instead of typing the files that I want to add, I simply type a period, and what that does is it will list, or it will add all the things that are in the working directory directly to the staging area. So if I run this and then run git status again, you can see now both are in the staging area. So let's now create a commit for that. So we're going to say git commit, and the message is simply create code for the actual game. Okay, so that's that. Now let's have a look at the log, and here you can now see that the development branch is 1 commit ahead of the master branch. So now let's say that we are satisfied with the code and that we think it is working, and it's stable. So therefore we decide that we want to update our master branch to also include that code. So we want to merge in the development branch into master. So therefore let's first check out master. Check out master. Now let's run the log again, this time with the option all, that we see all the commits. And now head is pointing at master. And now we want to merge in the development branch into master. So the commit for that is simply git merge, and then we specify what branch we want to merge in to the currently checked out branch. So we want to merge in the development branch into master. So let's run this. And here, as you can see, this was a fast forward merge because we simply had to move the pointer of the master branch forward to this commit. So let's let's look at the log again. So now you can see master is at the most recent commit, and we also then have here our game.py file. So that was now the first example for merging branches. So let's have a look again at the slides to see what we have done. So first we had our master branch, then we created the development branch, checked it out, then we created the game.py file and the .ignore file, add them to the staging area and created a new commit for that. Then we went back to the master and updated it. So that's what we've done. So now let's look at a second example for merging branches. So let's say in our next coding session, we realize that in our helper functions.py file, in the determine game status function, there is some repetitive code. Namely, in each block where we determine here a winner, what we do is we create a variable called player, and then we check if each element in a certain list is equal to that player. And then we also check if the player is not equal to 0. So we do that here, here, and then also here and here as well. So therefore, because of this repetitive code, we would like to refactor that into its own function. And just like before, so to not mess with our main line of development, we want to do that on another branch. But this time we're not going to use the development branch. So let's first delete that. So the command for that is simply git branch with the option D, and then you specify which branch you want to delete. So def. So now let's look again at the log. So as you can see, the development branch is gone. So now let's create another branch for refactoring the code. And here I'm going to use a different command, namely I immediately use the checkout command, and here then with the option B, which stands then for branch. And now I specify how I want to name that branch, and let's call it all the same, because we're going to check if all the elements in the list are the same. And what this does is it will create the branch and then also immediately check it out. So if I run this now, we are straight on all the same branch. So this is just a shortcut instead of using the commands git branch and then git checkout. Okay, so now let's replace that code. So what I've done here is just this helper function, and then I simply always call this helper function here and there. So let's replace this determine game status function with that one. Okay, so that's that. Let's now create a commit for that. So let's run git status, and helper functions.py is listed. So then let's add that to the staging area, and then we create a commit. And then let's say refactor code into all the same function. So that's the commit. Now let's run git log again. As you can see, all the same is now one commit ahead. And now let's say that we are not entirely sure if we actually want to keep the code like this, or if we want to have this helper function, or if we just want to keep the code like it was before, despite the repetitive parts. But then let's also say that we realize that in this function we missed a certain game status, because what we do is now we simply check if there's a winner, and if there's not a winner, then the game is still ongoing. But there's obviously also another option, namely there could be a draw in the game. So this is something that we definitely have to incorporate into this function. So that's why let's just do it on the master branch. So let's get back to the master branch. So get checkout master. And if I run this now, this helper function here now will disappear. And we have the old version of our determine game status function. So then now let's add the functionality for a draw. So it's here, and you need to insert it at line 86. So here after this, after we check if there's a diagonal winner. So that's that. And then also in the game.py file, or let's first save this, and then in the game.py file, we need to change the print statements. So that's 26. So here, this part of the code. Okay, so let's save that. And now let's check if that is actually working. So let's run the file again. Let's take 3, and now we have to force a draw. So let's just quickly go through that. 0, 2. Now the same thing. So that's then a 0, 2, 0, 2, 1. Then let's play 2, 2, and now 1, 0, 1, 1, and lastly then 1, 2. So now the game is finished and we have a draw, and it also shows us that we have a draw. Okay, so the code is working. So now let's put that into a commit. So let's run git status again. Game.py and helper functions.py were modified. So let's add them to the staging area, and then let's create a commit. So let's call this here the commit method add check for a draw. Okay, so now let's decide we are satisfied with the code, and that we also actually want to incorporate the all the same functionality of our all the same branch. So what we've done now is we have created, so we want to merge now these two branches together, and what we've done is we have created a commit on the master branch and a commit on the all the same branch. So the paths have diverged, and we can check that with the git log function with another option, which is simply graph. So this now shows the commit history in the form of a graph, and here, as you can see, the paths have diverged. So if we now want to merge in the all the same branch, Git has to do a three-way merge and create a new commit for that. So let's do that now. So let's say git merge and then all the same. And if we run this now, then a new tab is automatically open in the text editor, and here there's a pre-written commit message which says merge branch are the same. So this you simply have to close, and with that now the commit was created. So let's look at the log again, and here as you can see now the paths have been brought together again, and with that now we don't need the all the same branch anymore. So let's delete that as well. So git branch the all the same. Okay, so this then concludes our second example. So let's look again at the slides to see what we have done in a visual form. So first we deleted the development branch, then we created all the same branch, then we checked it out, created a commit where we refactored the code into all the same function, and then we got back to master, created a commit there where we checked for a draw, and then we merged those two paths together and deleted all the same branch again. So now let's look at a further example for merging branches. So let's say in our next coding session we realize that there is a bug in our game. So let's run this game again, and the bug is that if a player doesn't play a position that is available on the game board, then we get an error and the game breaks. So let's play, for example, position 4-5, and in this case then we get an error, and as I said, the game breaks. So this is now what we want to fix, and since we don't again want to mess with our main line, we create a branch for that. So let's say git checkout -b, and let's call this branch valid move. So now let's say we start working on the code, and we replace this one right here. So let's say as we are writing this code, we then suddenly have an idea for a better name of this change function. Namely, a better name would probably to call it make move, because that's what we do with this function. We make a move on the game board. And since this is a very minor change, we quickly want to do that on the master branch and not on this branch here, because we're not entirely sure if we if the code for this check if the move of a player is valid is actually going to work. So therefore what we want to do is we want to save our progress that we've made so far into a commit, so that we don't lose it, and then later on when we come back to our branch we keep working on that commit. So for now let's save our progress that we have so far into a commit. So let's run git status. So game.py was modified, so let's add that to the staging area, and now we create a commit, and now we somehow indicate that this is not, or that this is an unfinished commit, so that we still want to work on it. So let's just do it like this. So ** and then work in progress, and that's just our way of indicating that this commit is still in progress. So let's create that, and now let's go back to the master branch. So git checkout master. Then obviously when I now run this code, this code here will disappear, because we're now on the master branch again. And now we are going to rename the change function to make move. So let's go to the helper functions .py file where we create this function. So here we're going to then say make move. So let's save that. And then in the game.py file as well, when we import the function, and then when we actually use the function. So let's save that. And now let's create a commit for that. So let's run git status quickly. Both of those files are listed, so let's add them to the staging area, and then we create a commit for that. And the message is simply rename the change function to make move. Okay, so that's that. Let's now look at the log again. So in one line, we want to see all, and then the graph. So now we have again diverged paths, and now we would like to keep working on our commit for where we check if the move of a player is valid. So let's go back to that branch. So git check out a valid move. And here we have our code again, and obviously here the function is still called change. So let's now finish up that code right here. So that's the code that we need, and now let's see if it is working. So let's run the file again, game.py. And let's play again position 4-5. And this time the game doesn't break, and it says something went wrong, and then we get some hints what the player should do, and then player 1 can again play a position. So let's now interrupt this. So our code is working. So now we would like to put that into a commit. But if I print out the log again, what we don't want to do is create another commit after this one. What we want to do is we want to actually change this commit. And this we can do with the amend option. So let's run git status again. So now let's add game.py to the staging area, and now when we want to commit, we use the amend option of the commit command. So let's call this message add check if a player's move is valid. So let's run this, and now let's run git log again. And as you can see, the work in progress commit message isn't there anymore. Instead, we have now add check if a player's move is valid. So since the code now is working, what we want to do is now we want to merge it into master. So let's check out master again. Master, and then we want to merge the valid move in. So we're going to say git merge valid move. And here now, as you can see, Git says that there is a conflict. So in this case now, for this three-way merge, we have a conflict. And so let's see what that then looks like. So here, Git marked the conflict in the file for us. It's in game.py. And here I'm using VS Code, so that's why I have this blue and green background color. So depending on your editor, this might look different. But what should be the same are here these a bunch of signs, these smaller than signs, equal signs, and bigger than signs. So these equal signs, they simply separate the changes from the different branches. So above that, here after the equal signs, it says head. So those changes here come from the head, and head is currently pointing at master. And here, by the way, it also says now merging into parentheses. And that's because now we have to resolve this conflict. So then here, after the equal signs until the bigger than signs, here it says valid move. So this code comes from the valid move branch. So now let's see why we actually have a merge conflict. So let's go back to the session where we created a code for the game. So here's the code for the game. and the conflict appears because we changed this line here on both branches. On the master branch, we changed it in such a way that we renamed the function, and on the valid move branch, we actually didn't change the line at all, but everything around it. And Git can't possibly know then how to now bring those two changes together. So now we have to manually edit the code. So what we want to do is we want to have both changes. So basically we want to have this check for the valid move, and we also want to rename the function. So now what we need to do is we simply need to rewrite the code to what it should look like. So here we then can simply say make move, and then we can delete this line here, and that's also already basically it. So now we just need to remove those indicators that Git created here. So that, and also this, and that's already it. So let's now save that. And now if we run git status again, we can see here there are unmerged paths, and we need again just now to add this file to the staging area. So let's add that. And now we simply gonna commit. And here we use it without the -m option. And then again, it creates, or it opens a new tab in the editor and creates a pre-written commit message, which simply says merge branch valid move. So let's close that again. And with that, now we have created the commit and resolved the conflict. So here it doesn't say merging anymore. So let's look again at the log. So here you can see a new commit was created and the paths are brought together. So now let's quickly delete the valid move branch. So git branch -d valid move, and let's print out the log again, and now this branch is deleted. So that concludes the third example for merging branches. And let's look again at the slides what we have done. So first we created a valid move branch and checked it out. Then we created a commit where we added the check if a player's move is valid. Then we went back to master, created a new commit, and then we created a merge commit, and then deleted the valid move branch. So now we have seen 3 different examples for merging branches. The first one was a fast forward merge. The second one was a freeway merge without a merge conflict, and then a freeway merge with a merge conflict. And with that now, so we have then seen how to work with branches in Git, and in the upcoming video we will talk about how to work with a remote repository in Git. So thanks for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.